Okay, welcome to the channel podcast, primarily about women's football. I am your host, Dino DeCespedes, and as always, I am joined by my co-host, Mr. Grant Engel. What is up, man?
Hello, friends. It was time once again for the time-honored tradition, a tradition unlike any other, the ITC Derby.
Let's go.
I'm feeling fantastic, buddy. Good to see you. Good to know that you are safely in your newish home. Still some moving about to do, but I'm glad to be on the pod with you again.
Yeah, man. Likewise. West Coast, Best Coast. I'm here for all of it. Recording a late hour for you, but normal hour for me. We'll get that ironed out at some point. Also recording
the
for
Sleepy Boys podcast.
Yeah, ITC After Dark. You know how we do. Recording from a undisclosed Airbnb in the lovely Bay Area. So very excited about that. But yeah, a lot of good football. The ITC Derby. I mean, I usually ask you where you want to get started. I'll just go through the formality of it. Where do you want to get started, Mr. Grant Engel?
It's still the ITC Derby because Orlando Pride is obviously the club of your heart. We'll see how long that lasts. I mean, obviously we got we've got a lot of we've got a lot of pals down there now because of your great work. A lot of knowers of ball down there. Obviously, Ad Astra chief among them. So it's not like we're going to stop paying attention to the best team in the league, arguably the best team in the world. But I digress. Let's just get it started. Seattle Reign 0, Orlando Pride 1. Still closer than I would have expected.
Yeah, I think a pretty good showing. Some stuff to be excited about. If you're Seattle, you were in the building?
Absolutely was.
All right, my guy was in the building, so we'll get that vantage point from there. I want to start actually maybe with one of those bright spots. Maddie Darlene jumped off the screen in this one. Ends up with FOTMOB's highest rating. The numbers kind of off the charts. 3 shots on target, 3 blocks. How about 9 tackles for the youngin? What a performance. I'm interested to hear from you. And then maybe we do a little bit of celebrating cheers to the young star if we can. But I'm very interested to hear from you what the Maddie Darlene experience was like in the building.
Yeah, let's get the cheers out of the way. I think that's a good call by you. It's a celebration.
Unlike any other.
Absolutely. Cheers to you. Yeah, I put in my notes super early that Maddie Darlene had the unfortunate circumstance of having to check former Reign player, now Orlando Pride, very important player, Ally Watt. Mm-hmm. And there were a couple times early where Ally Watt was doing Ally Watt things, and I was like, oh boy, Darlene might be in for a kind of welcome to the NWSL type of match here if she's going to be barbecue chicken and Watt's just going to cook her. But after a couple like shaky spots, she really got her footing and was able to get back on defense. And like you mentioned, 9 tackles, needed all 9 of them. And I thought the rookie held up pretty well.
Yeah, I thought she responded really well too. Like I thought her energy was cranked up, in those moments. You talked about Ally Watt going at her. She went at Corey Dyke, ITC Hall of Famer. Quick work of Corey Dyke, and then I think Watt got her again a little bit later after that. So it was great battles back and forth. Yep. Great to see a young player kind of elevate. I thought her best game of the season. I'm obviously not watching as closely as you are, but like you mentioned, she goes up against that Orlando Pride buzzsaw. Really funny graphic from our friends at Ion that said Orlando was 3-0-0 in scoring first this season, and I just thought to myself, they're 3-0-0 when they breathe in oxygen and breathe out carbon dioxide, or when they tie their shoes, or when it doesn't really. Yes. You could put any qualifier there, and they're 3-0-0 when any of that happens this season. So I definitely got the kick out of that. This Orlando Pride team, though, not a super overwhelming performance. I thought you kind of set the stage a little bit for maybe a potential drubbing. That's definitely not what we saw. Yeah. But great teams definitely find a way to, keep control of the game, keep opponents at bay, even if they're not kind of trouncing the other side. kind of feels like they're in control. But with that said, Seattle, a lot of good chances and a lot of good, I don't know, a lot of good bright spots along the way over that 90 plus.
Yeah, 100%. I mean, and we'll talk about the post game comments after from Maddie Darlene, Sam Meza, and Laura Harvey. But yeah, I thought there were good stretches of the match where Seattle probably had the better of things. I mean, I know you and I have talked about it before. You obviously love a good fight sports comparison. We've started kind of looking at breaking each half down into 15-minute increments and thinking about scoring them as though they were boxing matches. I
Mm-hmm.
thought the first 15 minutes, you could call it 10-9 for Seattle Reign. I think some judges might have had the second 15 minutes as 10-9 for the Reign. Some might have had it for 10-9 Orlando. But at worst, it was 1-1. And then obviously you get the Benda goal there, and I'm totally blanking. I feel like a total dope here. Yeah, obviously it's Summer Yates. Summer Yates has the assist and is immediately helped off with the injury. But when Yates gets down the field, she just sends in a perfect cross. It was kind of building. That's why I wonder that goal scored in the 41st minute. It felt like that was building a little bit in like that kind of second 15. And Orlando Pride was starting to pick up some steam. And that's just the kind of goal where the superior team, the double holders, score right before half. And I won't lie, there was a part of me that thought, okay, that was a good first half by the Reign, but this is where the more dominant team scores right before half, floats into the locker room, and comes back out, and then really starts to just kind of get you in that headlock and start giving you a noogie like big sister would to little sister. It just didn't happen that way.
Yeah, I think Seattle was kind of up for it. I think Orlando was doing something interesting leading up to the goal, which was just putting dangerous balls as close to the as close to the net and the post as possible. They had the couple
Yes.
corners that were just like, let's just kick it in that area and see if one of our toughies can get on the end of it and smash it smash it in. And then it ends up being a similar type play, not off a corner or a free kick, but same angle as a corner. Summer Yates kind of sneaks in, and all Banda's got to do is kind of open up her boot to kind of like redirect it into the net. Really bummed to see Yates go down. Hopefully it's nothing too serious.
Yeah.
Angelina comes in though and immediately looks like a total live wire. No rest versus rust. After Angelina's very busy international break, she looked really good in this one, and it really kind of got me thinking. Obviously, we talked about Orlando's one goal on the road against a tough Seattle defense. So you would hope for more in that instance. It really kind of got me thinking. Okay, Adriana, we've talked a little bit about her moving on. I think if you're thinking about Marta as that primary attacking midfielder, you think about the workload. There's just going to be days where the touches maybe won't be there, or the endurance won't be there. The potential for special Marta moments will always be there. But I do think that Orlando is still kind of looking for that key attacking midfielder type player that is sort of in that best 11 or second team best 11 type mix, to really make sure that they can compete offensively with some of the league's best teams. And that's kind of where my head is starting to think about, okay, Angelina, is this a type of player at this point of her career where she could kind of like step up into that echelon?
I think she certainly looks like she can do it. I mean, 25 years old, feeling good in the situation around her, playing with players she is familiar with. She's getting more familiar with. You're right. I mean, she stepped right onto the pitch and immediately hit a rocket that Claudia Dickey needed to tip over the crossbar.
Mm-hmm.
And I was talking about it as with the aforementioned Ad Astra, our good pal on Twitter, or on, yikes, talking to Ad Astra on Blue Sky. We don't do Twitter anymore. Nobody should really. And knowing me, obviously, sometimes the pessimism can creep in. I was like, oh boy, are we in for the Angelina revenge game here? It didn't turn out that way, but we've talked about her blinding skill. She just kind of needs to do that a little more consistently. You're not always going to play that way. Like we've talked about that with like a player like Mary Fowler. But she certainly has it in her game. I wouldn't be shocked if by by match week 14 or 15, we're looking at it like, is Angelina on the fringe of possibly the best 11 or somewhere in that ballpark?
Yeah, yeah, no doubt. I think there's definitely space for somebody to move into that, sort of like hierarchy within the team, and grab that spot. One player that I think is continuing to grab that spot this season, Anna Morehouse. I thought the player of the match for Orlando. Stepped up huge in spots, and I think my favorite part about Morehouse, she obviously had big time save late in that one, and the Orlando defense obviously also came up with some big time blocks. Emily Sams, Carson Pickett late as well, but Morehouse just doesn't get beat by, in basketball, or, like you say, okay, you don't want to get beat by any foolishness. It's like, don't let them beat you with like something ridiculous. Right. So
Right.
she doesn't get beat with anything easy or anything silly. Like if you beat her, you really got to beat her with some real high quality skill. And that's kind of what I love about her game. She's just rock solid, absolutely, from a shot stopping perspective. And, we're already 3 clean sheets in, in her pursuit of her record 13 from last season. Her stated goal coming into this year was to surpass that, well on her way. 3 out of 4 clean sheets. Really good game from Anna Morehouse. What'd you see from that Orlando defense, especially as Seattle kind of started to crank that up? Because Seattle did get chances in the second half.
So in the post-game press conference, I asked Laura Harvey, Seattle Reign FC manager, specifically about that. Because, and I framed the question just to keep it a buck with her. I just said, look, Nadana and Sams are probably the best center back pairing in the league. And you guys were able to generate some chances in the middle of the field, even. I mean, the Darlene chance comes from, I think it was Mondesir who forced a turnover, and then it falls to Biondolo, and she plays Darlene straight in, one-on-one with Morehouse, who made that great kick save that you mentioned. Mm-hmm. But there were a couple other passes that they were playing through the middle of the field, which they were never capable of doing in the 2024 NWSL season. That the Reign just did not have that in their arsenal last season. So when I asked her about it, Laura Harvey said, she obviously meant like co-signed, like, yeah, they're a great center back duo. Now, Laura Harvey, as competitive as she is, stopped short of calling them maybe the best center back pairing in the league. I don't know if she's, out here tossing around compliments to opponents that way, but she did say they're a very good center back pairing, and that she wanted to see from Mondesir or Mercado or some of the other wing players was, can we get those two separated so they're not like forming this impenetrable wall, at the top of the 18 in the center of the park, or the center of the field rather. And I thought that was interesting. And she said that they were able to do that to kind of get them separated a little bit. But she said specifically, and this is what I thought was very interesting. Let me pull this up here. Okay, so obviously Laura Harvey is English. Anna Morehouse, also English. And I think we've talked about it before. When you interviewed Anna Morehouse, she was somewhat guarded about, kind of what she said. And I'm guessing it's because she grew up in a country where football is the major sport. And when athletes say things to the media, it gets picked apart 900 different ways and can be used against them. Well, here's what Laura Harvey said specifically about Anna Morehouse. Quote, "I've heard a lot of negative things said about their goalkeeper," referring to Morehouse. "And today she stood on her head to get them the win," end quote. And I just thought it was interesting because when you talked to Anna Morehouse, she was very clearly lobbying and saying, one of my goals is not only to set the clean sheets record, but to make the Euros roster for the Lionesses. And I just think that, we've talked about her being one of the better goalkeepers in the league. I thought she showed that again in this one. And, if she doesn't make that save against Darlene, for sure, it more than likely cost them 2 points. And you never know what happens if Rain notches a goal right there. It could have cost them all three.
Absolutely. Yeah, I have in my notes point saving save for sure. What was your and a total cosign on the importance of Morehouse and probably her case for being on that English squad? The last one I want to ask you about, Lyn Biondolo comes on in halftime. I thought had some really nice moments distributing deep, with her back to the goal, just kind of real vet shit out there
Yep.
offensively. What
100%.
what'd you see, from your vantage point there?
I thought the attack immediately looked better when she was on the field, obviously making her debut for the Rain. Yep, you're right. She kind of had to come back in to get the ball at times. I mean, on that play where she played Darlene in, she was almost like in like a bit of a false nine position when she passes Darlene in, but she has the ability to kind of to back down a defender and receive the ball and play make. There were questions. I mean, she hasn't played number 9, I think, in years. Obviously operating out on the wing more for Gotham more recently, and I think back with the Courage as well. But she's too smart. Like, you can just put her in pretty much any attacking position on the field, and she's going to look good. So even with the layoff, even with kind of the nagging injuries that she's been dealing with, I thought she looked good in this match, and it made me very optimistic as to what she's going to look like. Because there's no Ji So Yun in this match. She played for Korea and had to come back off international duty. Jess Fishlock has an injury, so it wasn't just international duty. I think Laura Harvey said she might be a little longer. But this was a match against the reigning double winners with no Fishlock, no G, and Lyn Biondolo for 45 minutes, and they still looked pretty damn good.
Yep, no argument there. I think definitely going to be room to grow, and I think by the nature of the roster, there's going to be some opportunity for Biondolo to kind of turn back the clock a little bit. I think she'll get opportunities in different spots and at different positions probably, and I wouldn't be surprised to see her put up numbers in however many minutes she's able to kind of like log this season. Let's go ahead though. I want to talk about, we're 4 weeks into the season. My biggest takeaway, we talked about, maybe was there going to be a top 3 up top, a top 4, looking like a hard top 2 up there. We talked about one of the sides, Orlando Pride, the other team, Kansas City Current. So both of these teams on 12 points after 4 matches. Orlando's plus 10 goal differential, Kansas City's plus 9. The next best there is plus 3. I think it is the Washington Spirit in third there. So these two teams well out ahead. The only teams that are perfect on the season, winless and drawless. Kansas City Current, offensively, we already know what they're about offensively. Dabinia had herself a game. It's nice when you can mishit a shot, still put it in the back of the net. Lola Bonta follows that up with an unsavable penalty kick. Some fun stats here. Kansas City, 23.8 shot creating actions per 90 minutes. Imagine facing that, and who's on the end of those shots are absolute superstars. That's just nasty. Dabinia, first in the league in that category, 5.93 shot creating actions per 90, 1.03 goal creating actions per 90. Michelle Cooper, fifth in shot creating actions and 7th in goal creating actions. So 2 players well up near the top of that category, and that's not to speak of Temma Chawinga, who's a threat pretty much every second that she's touching a blade of grass out there. But the defense, you kind of called this out. What's your take in terms of like defensively what the Current's been able to do?
I think it's why they're kicking the shit out of teams right now. And I mean, you put it in the notes. You put it in our Google Doc to take people behind the curtain here that Kansas City has 23.8 shot creating actions per 90. That didn't even compute in my mind. Like, looking at the doc, I didn't even put that together until you said it. And then I had to like stare at it and be like, wait, is that really the number? That's incredible. So, okay. So yeah, you got to deal with that. Like you said, Dabinia, Michelle Cooper, Temwa Chawinga, Lola Bonta. You have to deal with all that, but their defense is significantly improved, especially compared to the early part of last season. So they notched their 3rd clean sheet in a row this season, and obviously their third of the season. When they got their third, when Kansas City Current registered their third clean sheet in the 2024 NWSL season, that was match week 11. So they're on
Wow.
a pretty good pace here by getting their third by match week 4. And the only goal they allowed was in that opener, and that was when they were already ahead 3-0, and Moultrie snuck in a goal like shortly after halftime. So the game was pretty much, already covered at that point anyway. And, I think the addition of Alana Cook, she's fit in nicely. I think she has some history with Vlatko, who I think gave her a look on the national team. And when Vlatko was Reigns manager a year ago, so I know somebody in the comments will correct me if I'm wrong. I think they may have overlapped a little bit with the Reign. I might be right on that. But we would be remiss if we did not say, and yes, the defense is better. Alana Cook has been a good addition. Lorena in goal. She's
Mm-hmm.
fucking awesome. Like, immediately one of the better goalkeepers in the league. So I know we talked about Morehouse and, Ankatrin Berger. You already know what time it is. Kaylin Sheridan. But Aubrey Kingsbury, Lorena has immediately catapulted into that discussion.
Yep. Yep. Impossible to keep her out for sure. My favorite stat is probably I look back at the Kansas City Current. They were letting in roughly 1 in 4 shots on target last season, which is not terrible. I think that's kind of like right in the zone. This year, 1 goal from 13 shots on target.
There we go.
So 1 of 4 to 1 of 13. Obviously, I don't think they will be able to uphold that rate. But I mean, there you go. Right? That kind of shows right there what they've been able to do. They're allowing the second fewest shots per match, third fewest shots on target per match. So I think defensively, they're pretty much shutting you down at every checkpoint. Not too many shots, not too many shots on target. If you do kind of squeeze them through, Lorena, to your point, absolute brick wall back there. And I mean, I got to probably take the L a little bit. I think heading into the season, I was thinking, okay, the pride and the spirit are maybe, the top 2. And it's looking like it could be the Current. The Current might be in that 1A position. Or I think at the very least, they're playing Orlando to a 10-10 round to kind of rewind back to our boxing analogy.
Yeah, I mean, they're definitely in the mix. I mean, Washington Spirit doesn't have nearly their whole team yet. So, I mean, obviously we gotta make sure and wait around. I think we're still probably rocking with a 3-team race, although maybe some Angel City fans might tell us to look around and wake up. We can maybe talk about them later.
I'm
I
lost.
don't I don't think they are in the class of Orlando Pride, Kansas City Current, or Washington Spirit quite yet. I mean, results could change my mind, but I think we know what the rosters look like here. But yeah, Lorena's a monster. I referenced Alana Cook. I think it's important to point out that Kayla Sharples and Ellie Wheeler have played every minute of every match on the back line. Alana Cook's only missed 15 minutes of the available time. And then the continued growth and excellence of Claire Hutton, who's played about 300 minutes herself and is a great young player who is playing right in front of that back line, can help push the ball upfield, can help rip the ball off players before they even get to that back line or help with double teams, and then can pass the ball forward. So they have a good mix. And if I told you that Vlatko Andonovski is going to coach a team that's going to have a tough defense, a great goalkeeper, and then some superlative attacking talent, that would be a good recipe for him. He would say, yeah, man, that's what I was hoping for with the U.S. women's national team. And then maybe some timeline stuff didn't work out. And maybe he made some iffy decisions in that time. But, he's still, we talked about his possible revenge tour last year in the NWSL. Maybe we were a year early.
Oh, very possible. Made for a great documentary. So, give it to Vlatko. He's a showman.
There you go. Think of the impressions.
Absolutely. I want to talk a little bit about a team you mentioned as the other team that hasn't lost. So I kind of alluded to it a little bit earlier. But, we talked maybe about the top four, Orlando, KC, Washington. In the fourth place slot in the standings, the aforementioned Angel City, undefeated. One of three sides undefeated. They've got 2 wins, 2 draws on the season. Sixth in shots, first in shots on target, 21 through 4 matches. So they're putting them up. And I think my favorite observation here, Alyssa Thompson, still just 20 years old. You talked about that 2023 World Cup. I kind of feel like for a young player, and it's not like she played that poorly in that World Cup, but I think there was a lot of expectations, a lot of excitement. The whole team played poorly, or just the collection of the team, I would say, performed poorly. I think that stink kind of stuck to Alyssa Thompson unfairly in kind of a big way. Either way, we're almost 2 years removed from that, and she's balling. Like, you look at where she's at: 11 shots in the season, 5 on target. Excuse me, 5 on target, 3 goals. I think I'm kind of ready to say in the MVP conversation for me, Alyssa Thompson.
Oh, let's go. All right. I like it. Yeah. I mean, look, she's 20 years old. So it's like she obviously has a long runway. Me and Brighty talked about it, the post match, of the second Brazil fixture, during the international window. And, I still, there's something about, Sentnor has, like, to me, Sentnor has like a little bit longer of a resume, a little bit longer of a track record, like when we're talking like national team stuff. But if Alyssa Thompson just continues to play like this, in club play, and then, she was obviously on a heater, for those 2 matches versus Brazil, it's going to be impossible to ignore. In the MVP conversation, those are the kind of bold takes that people come to the Into the Channel podcast for. And I appreciate you for doing it, but it's not like the numbers don't back it up. So, I'll be here to monitor the situation with you.
Yeah. I know it kind of feels a little hot takey, but I'm definitely not hot taking this one. I really do think, if I had to put a take chip down, you're talking top 3 when we get to the end of the season. Angel City's already kind of well outperforming. It's super early, but the season's only 26 matches. So sure. I think I did the math. We're at like 15% of the way through the season. So it's not nothing. Oh yeah. 15.3 something. Mm-hmm. And this is a 20-year-old player still ascending that we've seen excel now in the NWSL last season for the U.S. Women's National Team during the breaks and heading into the season. So I don't think there's any reason to believe a young player on the ascent. I don't think there's no reason this won't continue. She looks great athletically. She looks super healthy. And she's putting together real performances. And I think most importantly, she's got the team playing well. I think we see a lot, teams that have, productive players, but they just can't get it together. She seems to be able to put things together, kind of like connect some dots with that offense. And, the results are coming for that side. So I think it's pretty exciting for Angel City. And I feel really, really nice getting way out ahead early on this one. Alyssa Thompson in the MVP conversation. Wouldn't be surprised if she finishes top 3 come the end of the season.
Let's go. I mean, that's just fucking fantastic. Good for you for getting on that early. Yeah. And you know what? We still, I know I mentioned her probably, I want to say on our NWSL shows, maybe once every 8 shows since her injury. But I am one of the world's foremost June Endo stockholders. And so she's going to come back, and she's going to, it's going to take her a little bit because it was a devastating injury. But, you get a little extra help in that midfield, somebody else who can kind of, play some through balls, win the ball in the midfield, act as another connector. As we've said multiple times, we hope Sydney Leroux is working through what she needs to do and starts feeling better soon. You get another established number 9 in there to at least get in the rotation. But we could see where Angel City lands on the table as the season progresses, and if they're going to be high up there, it's going to be largely in part to the way Alyssa Thompson plays, and that probably puts you in the MVP mix.
I like it. So we'll keep tracking that. All right, so we've talked about a few teams with arrows pointing up, maybe multiple arrows pointing up. I want to switch gears and take a quick look at the team that I'm going to be getting a much closer look at here as the season progresses. Bay FC. What's been your read? I think, the arrow's been pointing in every direction, I think, so far this season. Not a great showing this past week. They give Chicago their first result of the season. What do you see kind of happening at Bay FC right now?
Yeah. All right. So I'm going to try to not do the thing that I have made fun of sports talking heads for years, which is they make a prediction, their prediction is wrong, and then they just start crushing everybody on that team. It's one of the funniest things. I mean, you could probably think of one dude in particular who's very rich and very famous and would swing on grown men athletes if he could, as he's been wont to tell us. Which I would then posit the follow-up question, then what do you think would happen? But anyway, I digress.
Maybe run for office.
Yeah, exactly. Right. I know. Right into the White House. Because surely things can't get any worse. No, wait. They can. They can get worse, and they likely will. But again, another digression. Sorry. Okay. So, yes, I thought Bay...
well delivered by you.
Thanks. So... I thought Bay FC was going to be good, and it was just really evident, especially in this match against Chicago. Our pal, friend of the show, Arsenal legend, third place World Cup medal holder, Champions League winner, Leanne Sanderson, said it during the broadcast. They don't get the ball to Oshuala and Kundanaji nearly enough. It's so frustrating to watch them play, and some of the blame has to go to them because that's just fair play. Like, there are 11 players on the field. Sometimes you got to go up and get the ball. You got to move, but they're just not getting any kind of service from the midfield. It has to, it's only Dahlkemper passes over the top, it feels like, and you just got to be able to put together some better offense than that. And I would say that's my number one frustration with watching them so far this early season.
It's the reason I chuckled at the Dahlkemper bit is because I noticed the same thing, and I'm like, okay, most of Bay FC is playing this slow, methodical, 3 yards in a cloud of dust offense. Like, let's just caterpillar the ball up the field, which is the worst thing you want to do when you have Kundanaji and Oshuala. And then you have Dahlkemper playing U.S. Women's National Team ball, where it's just get it, rip it, and let's see what. It's just there just seems to be no cohesion with the offense. And when you work the ball up the field so slowly, you're totally neutralizing both those players. And I think I would be a little careful not to necessarily bucket Kundanaji and Oshuala. Oshuala has one shot in 200 minutes this season.
Right.
That's a huge problem. That's sort of a bigger problem. That I think we could look at Oshuala and be like, okay, what's going on here? Why are the opportunities? Where's your positioning? Where's the spacing? Why are the opportunities not necessarily coming? Kundanaji, she's got 10 shots on the season, 4 on target, no goals. I think a little bit of a different issue for Kundanaji, but either way, the offense is not serving those players in any kind of way.
No, that's perfectly said, and I'm glad you point out the difference between Oshuala and Kundanaji. I think you can make the argument too that Kundanaji out on the wing, played some dangerous passes in that game against Chicago, and has in other parts in the previous games as well. So yeah, I think Kundanaji is playing well, but if you have Oshuala and Kundanaji and combined they have as many goals and assists as you and I do, then that's something is going very, very wrong.
Well, I mean, you and I are cooking right now, so I mean, you can't really.
To be fair,
sternly, yeah. To be fair, another quick stat here: Bay FC's got 4 goals in the season. Only one of those is assisted. Last year, 20 assists on 29 goals. So huge difference there. I think the offense is just not connecting in any kind of way. Shots are down this season. Shots on target also down this season for Bay. And Ludmila. I'm glad you mentioned her and what Chicago, because she really put it on them. She was tough to handle. She gave Dahlkemper problems. She gave that whole back line problems. And that Chicago side was a team that kind of hadn't been able to put. I mean, like looked very clearly in the driver's seat for that 14th for that 14th spot, and they handled Bay, I think, pretty easily.
Yeah, I mean, they had no answers for Ludmila, who was just frying them for long stretches. Jamise Joseph, I thought, played really well as well.
Absolutely.
Yeah, I just, I had blue skied out there into the universe that I know Ludmila and Jamise Joseph and Ali Schlegel are good players. They looked like world beaters at times against Bay FC. And so here, I'm going to do the thing. I said I wasn't going to do the thing. I'm not going to threaten to fight anybody. But I'm going to do a sports media thing here. I just want to say, like, if you have Kuninaji and Oshwala, I understand there's some issues with other parts of the squad, but those two superstars haven't scored a goal. They haven't notched an assist. You're 15% of the way through the season, and then a month ago there were public allegations of a quote toxic culture at the club. Then at some point somebody needs to look around and be like, where's the problem here? And it could be in the manager's seat. And I know where it's the early spring and the weather's starting to get warm. Maybe Albertine Montoya's seat might start getting a little hot here.
Yeah, I think. I mean, I'm going to be excited to get a little closer to this team and see, from a different perspective, what's going on. Everything seems to be good. Like the vibes seem to be good. The brand, the leadership, the story, the artwork, the design, like sort of like and I'm kind of seeing
Sure.
stuff here too, community stuff. Like everything seems to be on the up and up, except for maybe what's happening on the field. And to your point, that story where there's probably a lot still yet to be reported on that. But I think we'll see. I mean, I'll continue to, or I'll start to, kind of like keep my finger on what's going on here and absolutely report back. I want to hit a couple other quick notes. I think, 4 weeks in is a good time to do a little bit of reflecting. We kind of hit on a few of these teams. The last team I wanted to hit, and then I'll kind of kick it to you to see if you've got any, from a surprise standpoint, the Portland Thorns, 6th place in the standings, just 3 goals so far, but 5 points. Let's go. 1-2-1 for the Thorns. League best 62 shots. League worst shot on target rate of 27.4. So they're putting them up, but they're not really getting them on frame. 3rd worst goals per shot, but some pretty decent results. They lose away to KC. 2 straight draws at home, one to Angel City and one to the Courage, and then they go to Utah and get a big win. It's been pretty interesting to see Portland, without kind of the tip of the spear, find ways to kind of scratch out results and sort of hold on, like kind of, make the season a bit interesting.
Yeah, that's totally fair. I think they've made the beginning of this season pretty interesting. Man, I just, I'll raise my hand. And I know I've talked about the Portland Thorns. They're one of the greatest clubs in the history of this league. They have a pedigree. They have an organizational structure that has worked incredibly well for them over the lifespan of the NWSL. I just, this can't be sustainable. I don't mean to be negative, guy. I mean, you pointed out a lack of goals, but they're still getting the points. 3 goals scored, but 5 points, 1 win, 2 draws, 1 loss. I just can't see this continuing, man. Like, you're not going to be able to put together points and results with duct tape and Gorilla Glue for that long. I don't think, not in this league, but we'll see how it plays out, and shout to them for being scrappy, but man, it doesn't seem sustainable.
Yeah, we'll definitely keep an eye on it. Just want to give a quick shout, because I think both of us had Portland probably out of the playoff, but definitely in that bottom tier. Anything else? Any 4 weeks in? Anything else you want to hit NWSL wise? I think catch your eye in a big way.
I'll tell you, I mean, the team that they defeated, the Utah Royals, another team that I was pretty high on going into the year. I got to tell you, Amy Rodriguez's Coach of the Year candidacy is in grave danger.
Seats getting
In,
hot for old A-Rod.
in all seriousness, for anybody who's not locked into every single episode, and obviously all of you are, but maybe there's like one or two new listeners. I was a dope
Welcome.
and mentioned Amy Rodriguez instead of Jimmy Coonrats as Utah's manager in the season preview. I don't know if Jimmy Coonrats's seat is getting warm. I would expect not. You should give him some time. But yeah, Utah just looks disjointed. The offense doesn't look like it has any kind of real purpose out there. But four matches in, we'll kind of see how Sentnor grows into a leadership role to kind of lead them. But 15% is like, it's enough to be like, okay, I think I see some stuff, but for me, it's not. It's still too early to start drawing out broad conclusions, and which will allow me to stick to some of my early opinions and say, hold on a minute, I need some more data. Funny how that works out.
Yeah, definitely. Well, shout out to Amy. I hope she can get it together. Amy and them girls out there. I'm just kidding. I think that's the last time we'll circle back to that all day Rod joke. Quick look ahead. Champions League returns this weekend. Some Saturday action, some Sunday action. Arsenal hosts Lyon on Saturday. The champions Barcelona host Chelsea on Sunday, April 20th. Very excited about that. You already know your boys will be back with probably recaps. I'm not sure if we'll get into a preview, but who knows? Keep it locked. Make sure you're subscribed. Great chance a preview might drop. So definitely keep it posted. Anything we need to know about our 4 European semifinalists in recent action here?
Let's do a quick roundup. Over the weekend, Barcelona beat Atletico Madrid by a hearty 6-0. It was 2-0 at halftime. Putting up a touchdown there. Atletico Madrid's third in the table. It was 2-0 at halftime. The first goal was scored a flying back heel by Patri, and then the second goal was just a regular back heel by Perejuelo. They're just all ridiculous. Atletico's defense is not a bullshit defense. They allowed 6 in this one to Barcelona. Prior to the match started, they're the only team who had allowed only 15 goals throughout the season with Barcelona. So they had conceded the same number of goals, and Barcelona said, okay, let's change that. Let's make that number look a little more cosmetic in our favor. Wow. So now Atletico's led in 21 and Barcelona's only led in 15. So that's pretty much how Barcelona gets down.
There you go. So they're ready.
I would say that's probably a fair assessment. Chelsea, moving on, their opponent, Chelsea, they snuck past Liverpool 2-1 in the FA Cup semifinal, a lot closer than I expected. They needed an Aggie Beaver Jones header in second half stoppage time to get the win. Aaron Cuthbert scored the first goal on a one-timer in first half stoppage time. So they were, doing their homework last minute on the bus before they walked into school. I think there were multiple chances. Like Chelsea probably could have scored more, but so could have Liverpool. Like this could have been it was already a pretty intriguing match. It could have been even wilder than it ended up being.
Yeah, it's gonna be an exciting final. I'm probably playing. I'm definitely playing catch up on all the European action. Obviously, talked about the move, and I think I was in NWSL mode heading into Champions League weekend. So I am not super caught up on Lyon and actually not super caught up on Arsenal, although I know they got a match in the docket set up for this weekend. For this week.
Yeah, exactly. Well, you didn't miss anything with your Gooners, buddy, because they take on Leicester City on Tuesday. So they did not play. They haven't played since before international break. They were hoping for an uneventful-ish international break, but Chloe Kelly picked up some kind of foot injury during England training and was sent home. And then Daphne van Domselaar injured her ankle for the Netherlands in their first fixture of the international break versus Austria, and she was sent home. But van Domselaar told De Telegraaf which I'm guessing is a Dutch newspaper of some kind or maybe news channel, that she can walk on it. She can walk on her ankle so she doesn't suspect the injury to be serious. Um, I haven't seen any updates on Chloe Kelly, so we'll kind of see what that foot injury looks like. It's just good, if you tweak something, just go home on international break just during the league season. We're not talking about a World Cup. We're not talking about a Euro yet. Just rest up for the Champions League. And so I would be, I mean, just from the initial reports, and this is with the reports that I read, this is no reporting by me. I would be surprised if you see Kelly play against Leicester City tomorrow. Like, what would be the point of that? Unless she was like absolutely a full go. But yeah, your Gooners are going to take on Lyon, which I'm pretty excited about. Before I tell you what Lyon did, what's your confidence level? Can we get a 1 to 10 level of confidence going up against the French Giants?
Playing at home. I mean, I think I would love to at least get a draw here. It's early prediction wise. I'm kind of feeling like 1-1 would be as good as we can hope for with that juggernaut from France and that defense, and the injuries that you mentioned. If they don't have Van Domselaar, that's definitely going to hurt. And I think Kelly has been a player that has been a really good change of pace, really smart player, really good facilitator. And obviously we know what she can do from a finishing standpoint. So those two injuries would definitely hurt if those players were unavailable. I think, yeah, I mean, I'd be really surprised if Arsenal won. I'd be happy with a draw. And I just don't want to get embarrassed. Like if you can take the draw back to Lyon, at least you can talk yourself into, okay, anything can happen at this point.
Yeah.
But I think a draw would be a great result based on where we're at right now.
Yeah, totally agree. And Lyon is just absolutely stacked. But you mentioned, as Arsenal, could you get a draw versus Lyon? Well, let me tell you, buddy, Paris FC did this past weekend. Hell of a match. They do. I'm telling you, man, Paris FC, anytime, and they're often on DAZN, anytime Paris FC, PSG, and Lyon, any of those three teams, any combination of those three teams are playing on DAZN, it's absolutely appointment television for me. And, well, maybe not even appointment television, because I think they played super early in the morning here on the West Coast, but I was able to avoid all spoilers. This is a little, weird detour into my viewing habits. I avoided all spoilers, and then I will watch it like at night. So I will make it like a prime time match. I don't know what's going on, but Paris FC and Lyon, they played at night in France. So I'm watching a match that had happened like 13 hours earlier, but it's under the lights and it's night and I'm having a couple beers, enjoying myself watching it. Lyon was in a dogfight pretty much from Jump Street. Paris FC went right at him, was attacking him on the wings. Lyon had Ellie Carpenter out there. They had Svava out there. They brought Basha in later. Like, it wasn't the JV team for Lyon that was out there playing, but Paris FC played bravely. They went right at them. Now, I will say there was no Wendy Renard, and they brought on Tarciane later. But there were pieces there with just physical play and an aggressive style that I think if you're Renee Slagers and Arsenal, you kind of look at that and go, okay, it's not, we're not a derby match. We're not a rivalry game the way Paris FC and Lyon is, but there might be some takeaways there in how we might want to attack them.
Yeah, I like that. And I do like Slagers to be able to pick up some different wrinkles from a result like that. So I don't know, could be some, I don't know, arrow sort of turning its way a little upward for me. Maybe I'm feeling 5-10% more optimistic than I was after learning about the Paris FC Lyon result. So I appreciate you catching me up with that. Anything else you want to hit before we get out of here?
I mean, I've decided I'm determined to play the game from now on. So who scored first in the best four clubs in the world? This week's winner, Lyon. Damaris Agarola scored in the 15th minute. Lyon takes the crown. This week, Barcelona, Patri's like flying back heel in the 17th minute. That's second place. And because of the Seattle Reign FC's defense and then Claudia Dickey, Orlando Pride takes home third, scoring in the 41st minute. Obviously, Barbara Benda. And then Chelsea, like I mentioned, scoring in stoppage time in the first half. Aaron Cuthbert, 45 plus 2. So in the race, no single minute scores, which is usually usually doesn't happen, it feels like, with Lyon and Barcelona, but they face some pretty stiff competition this week.
Interesting. All right, so we'll keep tracking it. Lyon out to the early lead. So something we'll definitely keep an eye on. Another part of our look ahead, NWSL Match Week 5, right around the corner. Some good ones in Match Week 5 as well that we're going to get a Challenge Cup rematch. Orlando Pride hosting the Washington Spirit again. Your Seattle Reign host the Portland Thorns. So you can, take all those pent-up negative feelings that I saw seeping out of you as I was talking about Portland and all of their all of their wins this season. And you could, channel that into some energy in the press box if you're going to be in the building for that one. That should be a good one and a pretty good Match Week 5 slate top to bottom. So I'll be excited to talk about that with you as well.
I will absolutely be in the building for the Cascadia Derby. But when I'm in the press box, no negative feelings whatsoever. Purely professional, my good man.
Yeah, see, that was a test. Pass with flying colors. I appreciate you. All right, this has been another episode of the channel. Thank you for hanging out. If you enjoyed the show or loving football as much as your boys do, make sure you're kicking with us each and every single week. Like if you liked, subscribe, follow YouTube, Spotify, Apple Podcasts, wherever you like to watch or listen. Leave us a review over your favorite podcast app. We want to hear from you. We love hearing from you. Links to all of our socials, except one, in the show notes of this episode. And a big thank you to my co-host as well, Mr. Grand Angle, for ITC Derby, Cascadia Derby. It doesn't matter. The vibes here are always good. I appreciate you, bro.
Likewise, buddy. And I had to get one more last Braun, the fighting soldiers, the battalion in Bergen, Norway, off to a 3-win, 0-draw, 0-loss start. They notched a 4-0 victory this past weekend. Our pals Frederick and Alexander, pardon me, sent us some highlights over on Blue Sky. Anybody, seriously, like if you can find the highlights or follow the Braun Battalion on Blue Sky, go ahead and do it. One of the best football club in the world, if you ask me. We'll see them later in the UEFA Women's Champions League coming up after this one. They're qualified for next season. So just shout out to the battalion for reaching out to us on Blue Sky. It's good to see more of them kind of migrate over there as well.
Let's go. Awesome.
All right, man. I think we've done it. I will. Let's get out of here, man. It's the Sleepy Boy show. I'm all over the place, staying up late. I don't know how you've been doing it all these weeks. I took for granted the time zone difference and how much easier things were on me as opposed to what you were dealing with back east.
All good, man. I appreciate it. We're getting it done. We'll get the times. We'll get the time situated. Just a matter of time, for lack of a better word. But you already know I appreciate you, bro.
All right, likewise, man. Thanks everybody for watching, and we will see you all next time.